Hello everyone, my name is Adam, and on this channel I review movies and books and everything, basically. And today I'm going to be talking about one of the films that is considered by many to be one of the greatest films of all time. And I actually agree with that assessment. It's called Hari Kiri. It's from 1962, Japan, and it is directed by Masaki Kobayashi, and it stars Tatsuya Nakadai, Akira Ishama, and Shima Iwashita. And the the plot of this story is on the one hand very simple, and on the one hand very complicated. So I'm going to tell you the plot. There are spoilers, but I don't think it matters necessarily if you know what happens in the film. It's one of those films you could probably watch again and again and again and get something out of. So there is a war, and then there's peace after that war, and the shogun who was leading the country at the time decides that this clan needs to be dissolved. So, because the clan is going to be dissolved, about 15,000 samurai will lose their jobs. And the head of the samurais of this clan, he wants to commit ritual suicide because his lord is going to do that. So he wants to follow his lord. But his best friend beats him to the punch because he's like the second in command. Um, so he commits suicide, and he makes the samurai, now Ronin just means a samurai without a master, makes him promise that he'll take care of his son. So he makes that promise, and he is taking care of his son, his friend's son, and his daughter. So as time goes by, they're really struggling to make ends meet because it's a time of peace, so they can't get a job with any other lord because they're not hiring, basically. It's a economic downturn for samurai. So the Ronin becomes a umbrella maker and a fan maker, and the friend's son teaches classical poetry, classical Japanese poetry, because he's very cultured. And things go on, and the best friend's son and the Ronin's daughter fall in love, they get married, they have a child. So the Ronin's daughter gets really, really sick, and his grandchild gets really, really sick. So the the best friend's son is really desperate for money. So he sells his sword, he goes to do manual labor, and they reject him because it's a class based society at the time, right? And samurai just can't do physical labor because that would threaten the whole of society or threaten the status of the samurai. So they can't do that. Um, so the best friend's son, he hears about this thing that's happening where Ronin will go to the different clans, and they'll say, please, I'm poor and I want to die with honor, so please let me commit Harakiri in your courtyard, because I guess that's the most honorable way to do it. And many clans have been saying, "Oh no, 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 that's we're not going to do that. That's a little bit gross," and giving them some money, and then they go on. So the best friend's son has this idea that he's going to do that too, even though they've previously talked about it and decided that it was a very bad idea. So he goes to this one particular clan, and this one particular clan is, no, we're not going to give you money. We're going to force you to commit harikiri because you said that you would, and a samurai's word is his honor. So he says, basically, give me 2 days. I will be back, I promise. And the reason he wants 2 days is because his son and his wife are dying. And he wants to tell uh, the main Ronin of the story that he's not going to come back because they're going to force him to commit suicide. But they say, no, 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 you're going to do it now. and we're going to give you this. You're going to do it with your own sword, but he's already sold his real sword, so it's just a fake toy sword, basically, a bamboo sword. So he has to, sorry, it's a bit graphic, but this is a graphic ritual. He has to disembowel himself with this bamboo sword, and they're going to chop his head off. And he does, and it's like, it's really gruesome scene for 1962, actually, because they do show the blood, and they show the sword in his bowels, basically. Yeah, and they make this big production of how, all of these Ronin are besmirching the honor of the samurai, and they have to do this because they have to uphold the reputation as being this paragon of martial virtue. The the clan, this is. So then he dies, obviously, and his body is taken back to the Ronin and the Ronin's daughter, who is the guy's wife. And they're making this big deal about how it was so offensive that he would come, and now he's died with honor, and he killed himself with this sword, and this was his sword, and you know so it look we did everything by the book completely. And the Ronin of the story is like really offended by this, like super offended. So he goes on a campaign of rampage, basically. So he attacks the three people who were responsible for this decision, who came into his house and disrespected the memory of somebody he really loved and his whole entire family. Oh yeah, his daughter dies and his grandson dies too, so he has like a big motivation for this revenge. And he attacks each of them separately, and he chops off their top knots, which is like this weird samurai hairdo that they have, which is a symbol of their honor. He chops off the top knots. So two of them, and these are supposed to be the best swordsmen of this clan, right? So two of them are just ambushed, and they don't know, they're not very good swordsmen. But this last guy, he finds out about the other two, and he's like, I am the best swordsman in Japan. If I'm gonna, he comes into the guy's house, and he's like, yeah, you don't have any chance. If you get your sword, I will cut you in half. And let's meet here. You have to write a letter saying you're going here, because if you die there, then your spirit is going to be wandering and nobody will be able to collect your body. He's like, sure. So they go to this place to have this battle, and the Ronin of the story, he first of all, he breaks the guy's sword, which is the first sign of disrespect to a samurai, and then he also chops off the guy's top knot. And that guy ends up committing Hari Kiri, and the other two are forced to commit Hari Kiri later. Then what happens is he goes to the the main castle of the Iyi clan, and he says, he says the same story that his son-in-law told. Like, he's a Ronin, he doesn't have any money, and he wants to commit suicide in an honorable way. And the counselor of the clan is like, oh, I don't think you want to do that. I'll tell you the story of this other Ronin who came from your clan. Do you know him? And he's like, no, I don't know him. So he starts telling this story, and then as they go through the preparations to force this guy to commit Harakiri, he's like, but just let me tell you a little bit of a story. And so he starts the story, and they're like, okay, you told the story. Now you have to commit suicide. And he's like, oh, I get to choose who's going to kill me. I want that. He names the first guy he removed the top knot from. Where is he? I want him. Because this is like the ultimate sign of disrespect, and you're supposed to commit Harakiri if somebody removes your top knot in battle. So he's not there. He's called in sick. So then he tells a little bit more of his story, and then they're like, oh, you gotta choose another guy. He chooses the other guy who's not there. And he chooses all of those three guys. And people start to get really, really suspicious of his motivations. And when he finishes telling the story, he says that he has removed the top knots of these three people, and he throws them on the ground and says, basically, like, your samurai honor is a facade because these guys are still alive, and according to the code, they should have committed suicide, and you forced my son-in-law to commit suicide, and you didn't even think to give him like 2 days to settle his affairs. He would have been back. He was an honorable man. Uh, and they don't like that at all. So they attack him, and in the attack, he kills four people. So there's like maybe about 50. It's like 1 against 50 or 60. He kills four people. He seriously injures 10, and then they have like this little shrine to the clan's founder, and he picks up the armor from the shrine and he's carrying it around like, look, this is your honor. This is what one guy can do to your honor. Then he says the whole thing. He doesn't mind committing Harikiri because he doesn't have anything left to live for. So he is doing that when he's like, okay, I'm not going to be able to kill anyone anymore. So he's doing the motion, and then they shoot him with muskets, which is like not honorable at all. So that is the basic plot of the story. And then after, there's kind of a cover up that the E clan says that they were so honorable in this situation, and these were just some wackos, and nobody lost their top knots. They just died of sickness, and these other people who he bested in battle, they're just very, very sick. And the shogun basically writes a letter saying, oh, good job, guys, good job. So that is the main plot of the story. And I've been talking about 10 minutes because it is very interesting plot, but that's not what makes the film so good. What makes the film so good is that all of that unfolds as the Ronin is telling his story. And the story actually starts with the suicide of the son-in-law. And you kind of see things from Clan Iyi's perspective first, because you think, yeah, he is like, why is he doing that? That's really strange that he would try to extort this honorable clan. And then you see that it gets more and more brutal. Like, why not give him a real sword? And why are you forcing him to do it with this bamboo sword? And then, so the first part of the movie is the Ronin of the story wanting to commit suicide in this courtyard of the EU clan, and then the counselor of the clan tells him this story of the guy who committed suicide before. And the story slowly unfolds, and the acting is really, really great. From the villains, from the protagonists, really, really great. The female character, maybe not so much, but she doesn't have a lot to work with. She just basically says a few lines and dies. But that would be the only criticism. There are like close-ups of the actors' faces, which just show so much emotion and passion. It's without actually saying anything. It's really, really moving film, actually, because you see that this guy so honor is supposed to be about martial virtue, right? So it's connected to your skill on the battlefield. And you see that this guy who was one of the best samurai in Japan, but he just lost his position through luck, basically. He can still enact this revenge against these people because they actually are not real warriors. And the honor and virtue that they proclaim is a lie. And there's a scene where they carry the body of the son-in-law back to the Ronin's house, and he is examining the sword, the bamboo sword that the son-in-law killed himself with, and he says something like, "You sold your sword to provide for your family, and I I couldn't get rid of mine. I didn't even think about getting rid of it. It's such a part of me, but it's so stupid because it's just like a piece of metal, you know." And he says that at the end too when he's giving this speech to the IE clan or EE clan. I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's very moving film. The directing is good. So I told you it took me about 10 minutes to tell you the entire plot, but in the movie it feels like it unfolds much quicker, even though the movie is 2 hours and 30 minutes. So it's a great film. It's probably one of the best that I've watched for this project. And I think that there are some films that have the reputation of being great films, and then there are actually great films, in my opinion. So uh, there was a Sergio Leone film I watched, The Good and Bad and the Ugly, that has a reputation of being one of the best films, but I did not like it at all. And this one is really good. And I think that, you know, people might not search it out because it's Japanese and it's in black and white and it's from 1962. But I think if you make the effort to find it, you will find this movie excellent. So I would recommend it wholeheartedly, 100%. So if you've watched the movie, tell me what you think. Did you like it? Was there any kind of meanings or themes that I missed out on that you think that people want to talk about? And if there are like some interesting comments, I will make a follow-up video to this one. All right, thank you. Like and subscribe. Bye bye.